Good afternoon, my friends and followers. I'm your lawyer, Patrick McGinn, and I am your best friend at your worst time. Welcome to Law and the Life Live. Today we have a very special guest. We have Dr. Aixa Goodrich, who is a chiropractic doctor in Kendall, Florida. She is my South Dade County person or South End person that I send all my accident victims to for medical treatment. She does an excellent job. She takes very good care of them. She's also a life coach and does retreats for people to get their head straight, I guess, and get on the path to success. And she's a very helpful person overall. So without further ado, Dr. Goodrich,
Well, thank you,
welcome.
Patrick. Thank you. Thank you for having me. It's so good to be on your show.
Thank you. Thank you. Tell us about your practice and what happens when I send or any other attorney sends somebody that's been involved in an accident to you. What do you do? What services can you offer? And how is it different if say I send them to you as opposed to I just send them to a regular primary doctor or an ER or even a clinic? How
Yeah,
is it different for you?
that's a great question. So, as Patrick said, I've been practicing chiropractic now for 21 years. I can't even believe it's been that long. And throughout my career, I've had the opportunity to treat many auto accident victims. And I actually enjoy treating them because most people are really hurt when they come in. And it's really interesting to see their progress as we go and see the outcome at the end where they're able to get back usually to a more normal life and sometimes, even better. And my practice is a little bit different because like Patrick said, I look at the patient from a holistic standpoint. So it's not just the accident and the injury, but I also look at things that could trigger inflammation that could worsen their condition. So that's where the functional medicine aspect of my practice comes in. And in addition to that, some people have trauma after an accident and they're afraid to get back into a car or they're afraid to go back to their daily routines. So we do a lot of mindset work. And in the practice, we also offer other therapies. So it's not just chiropractic and functional medicine, but we also have other practitioners here that are very helpful in terms of other services like acupuncture and massage therapy. Those aren't necessarily covered by your PIP or your auto insurance, but it's an added service that you can actually get, and perhaps we can tag on at the end and maybe get recovered from the settlement. So sometimes that works in our favor. And I think that really what makes us different is that we get to the root cause of what the issue is. So for example, if you go to the primary care physician, they might give you a Motrin or a Tylenol, and sometimes that is needed, but they don't necessarily know how to treat that. And unfortunately, after an injury, if you don't treat that injury, scar tissue could develop, a disc bulge could become a disc herniation, symptoms can worsen, and it can become a chronic thing. And unfortunately, if you're not getting active rehab, then you're more likely to develop chronic issues. So I think that's what sets us apart in terms of going to your general primary care physician and coming to a center like ours that looks at the patient as a whole or holistically. So I think that's where our expertise varies from your traditional primary care, or even going to the ER. Some people, today, like in this day and age, people are afraid to go to the ER or to urgent care because of coronavirus or what have you. And actually, doctors and hospitals are saying stay away for things that a chiropractic can treat. So we actually are considered essential, and that's why my office is still open and still treating patients. But also, what are they going to do at the ER if you don't have something broken? If there's nothing of major consequence, they're going to send you home with some pills, and then what? How are you going to get better? You don't necessarily have pain from lack of pills in your system. You have a pain because you actually had an injury, and there's soft tissue injury or maybe even more significant injuries. So we really kind of dive deep into that. And aside from that, it's also important to see someone who knows how to document these cases, because at the end, that's really what's going to make a difference, as you very well know as an attorney.
Very good. Yes. And one thing that I get from, especially from insurance companies, they'll go, your client's case isn't worth that much because it's a soft tissue injury. And what I've seen through my cases as an attorney, and back when I was a homicide detective working on car accident cases, is soft tissue injuries, so-called soft tissue injuries, can cause long-term problems. Can you And it's gone to the point where I've even had clients that come in that have been in an auto accident. They'll tell me in the initial consultation when I ask them about injuries, they'll go, it's just a soft tissue injury. But from what I've seen in my cases, soft tissue injuries can lead to big problems. If you could just address that and what you know, we all know what muscular, skeletal, broken bones, all those are, but can you address how soft tissue injuries can lead, if not, especially if not treated, can lead into, you know, future more serious problems?
Yeah, absolutely. So soft tissue injuries are not something to take lightly because like you said, they can lead to chronicity, right? And then once the damage is done, there's no going back. So after a soft tissue injury, let's call it whiplash for now, there is muscles that can sustain micro tears in the musculature, as well as in the ligaments, as well as in the disc, which is also considered soft tissue. And those micro tears, if not healed properly, could lead to scar tissue. And that scar tissue over time is going to limit the range of motion, which is then going to start to desiccate or dry out the disc that can make a healthy disc unhealthy and an unhealthy disc worse and lead it to a herniation, which can then cause pressure on a nerve, which then can cause numbness and tingling and weakness. So I've had patients come into me that had an accident, 2 years ago, and they're like, I don't know what this numbness and tingling is like. We take an x-ray or an MRI of their neck and they have a disc herniation or a disc bulge. And they're like, well, I never had that before. I'm like, well, maybe as a result of that accident, had you treated properly, we wouldn't be here today. But now the damage is done. So now we're doing damage control. And that's how soft tissues, you think it's nothing, you take a Tylenol or Motrin, and it's going to, short term, it's going to alleviate the pain, but it's not necessarily going to fix the problem. So it's crucial to get the adequate and proper care from the get-go before that scar tissue starts to set in. And that can start to set in with even just a few days. So it's really important the sooner that you get injured, the sooner that you see someone who can actually assess it, treat it, and then document it.
Right. And have you seen, I had one case a couple years ago that involved a disc injury and the person let it go and it got so bad that they had to go in and it was either do a fusion or put these steel rods in, all because, it started from a soft tissue injury. Have you seen any cases that are that bad where they had to maybe go in and fuse the spine or put in support rods or artificial disc or anything like that?
Yeah, I had a patient, actually a very young woman, had an accident probably about 5 years ago. And I remember her coming in to see me after the fact. And she didn't get the proper treatment because she was young, maybe in her early 20s. And she thought, well, this is just going to go away. She went about her life and work and school and everything else. And she ended up having to have a disc fusion between L4 and L5. She's still now a patient of mine because we had to refer her out. There was nothing more that I could do for her. It was just so herniated. There was cauda equina syndrome, which was compressing on her cord and causing bilateral numbness and tingling in her legs and weakness. So that was a surgical case. She was losing control of her bowel and bladder. That's how bad it can get. And she ended up having to have a fusion and a laminectomy at the segment right above. So that was a pretty extensive surgery. She is now, 28, I want to say, 27, 28. She still comes in to see me because the surgery, unfortunately, was not successful, and she still has pain and discomfort. It worked for a little while, but guess what happens? When they fuse, let's say L4 and L5, you lose the mobility at that segment. So now the segment above and below, so let's say L5S1 below and L3, L4 above, has to work overtime. And there's only so much that they can do before they start to wear and tear as well. So that fusion caused further issues. Had she come in initially, we would have probably not been in the situation that we are right now. But I also have another patient who was in an accident about a month ago, and actually about 6 weeks ago, because he's been seeing me now for about two weeks. And he thought, well, this just is just going to go away. And he just felt a little neck pain, a little pain radiating down to his occiput or up into his occiput. And now what's happening is that his whole entire left arm is going numb. He has pain in his hip. He has numbness and tingling down his leg. This is a very active man. He's maybe in his mid-50s, in great shape. And he thought, well, this is just going to go away. I'm afraid to go to the doctor. I'm afraid to go to the hospital. He didn't know who to go to. And so now I'm seeing him and he's getting results, but I'm afraid that this is going to be one of those cases where we're going to see a major herniation or bulge. And then what do? We can manage it to a certain point, but it may end up being a surgical case. So it's really important to get treatment early on.
Right. See, all that, folks, from a soft tissue injury, or has how the insurance wants to call, insurance companies want to call it a soft tissue injury, and tell you your case isn't worth what it's really worth.
Yeah.
A word of advice: if an insurance adjuster ever calls you and offers you a settlement and says, "Hey, your case isn't worth what it, much because it's a soft tissue injury," run away. Run to a lawyer's office.
Yeah, don't even answer their call. They, don't even answer their call. That's what I tell my patients. If you have an
Right.
attorney, let your attorney handle this. You should not be talking to your insurance company, because the truth of the matter is that they don't want to pay. They want to take your payments, but they don't necessarily
Right.
want to pay. And I also want to make sure that your listeners and your viewers know that they only have this 14-day period to get into a treatment center, to see a chiropractor, to seek medical care. Otherwise, you forfeit your personal injury benefits. And we're talking about minimum $10,000. So you want to make sure that if you do need treatment, you have that on your side, because it's going to be very valuable to you as a patient to have it. So within 14 days, otherwise you just basically forfeit those benefits. And that's unfortunate because you are paying for your auto insurance.
Right. And I do see cases where people wait and wait and wait, and they exceed that 14 days and they don't get that $10,000 guaranteed PIP benefit. So people, if you're involved in an accident, go at least get checked out so you can make sure there's nothing going on. And if there is something going on, you're in before that 14 days, and that just opens up that $10,000 PIP window. And you can do a lot of treatment for $10,000.
Oh, absolutely.
Another thing, I know you work with a lot of attorneys and we do cases together and stuff like that. Something I've learned as being a lawyer, when I have a case that involves an orthopedic injury, a broken bone, some type of spinal injury or something like that, and the people go and see orthopedic surgeons or specialists in that area, and then we end up doing the depositions in preparation for trial. When I'm deposing the orthopedic surgeon or the orthopedic expert, I guess it's because they do so many of those cases, or they have so many of those clients, they can't really remember the case or remember the client, and they're constantly fumbling through their notes trying to give answers to the questions the lawyers are asking. In contrast, when I have somebody such as yourself who is managing the case along with the patient, they're a lot more familiar with the case, are able to explain the medical procedures and the client or the patient's condition much better than these so-called experts are. I mean, I understand that the experts are necessary, but I just find that doctors such as yourself are just better at explaining it, and certainly explaining it to me to where I understand it. Can you talk a little about that? How you manage a case and how you interact with your client and the other professionals?
Sure, absolutely. So the first thing we do is when a patient comes in, we want to do an evaluation. We want to take a extensive history. We want to do a physical examination. We want to assess everything that's going on. We send for diagnostics as well. And then what I have found is that you need to explain to the patient what is going on with them. They want to know, like, am I injured? What is going on? Can I see my x-rays? And I think a lot of doctors don't take the time to explain to their patient what is going on, or go over x-rays or go over an MRI and explain what a disc herniation or a disc bulge is. And I think chiropractors are better at explaining this because chiropractic is misunderstood. So we've had to become great communicators and great educators as a profession, so that we could teach our patients and people who have this misconception about what it is that we do. So I think we've just evolved into great communicators in that nature. So I'm big on educating my patients. I have had two new patients this morning, and they've been to chiropractors before. And both of them said to me, I have never had this kind of explanation. And it's important as a physician to connect with your client. Then we go on to, if we need to make a referral, then I work with orthos and I work with neuros, and whoever we need to make a referral to, we will make that. We have established relationships. So this misconception that, MDs or DOs don't like chiropractors, that's truly not the case. In fact, I think that if you find a chiropractor who doesn't want to work with an MD, or an MD that doesn't want to work with a chiropractor, I think you need to run the other way. I think we have to establish relationships and look out for the best interest of the patient, right? So we work with great professionals in that aspect. So we need to make a referral, then we'll do that. And we also send out for diagnostics. So if we need an MRI, then we're going to do that as well. We want to make sure that the patient knows exactly what's going on, that we know exactly what's going on, so that we can provide the best care for our patient. And I think that pretty much sums it up. I don't know if I entirely answered your question. I think
Yeah,
there
I
was
think
the third part there to your question, but I think that's why we're better communicators. I think we've had to evolve to really explain things because we're so misunderstood. And the other thing you mentioned was, we're better at explaining a case because we're seeing these patients 2 or 3 or 4 maybe times a week, right? So we actually create a relationship with the patient. We know about their kids, and we know about their spouses, and we know about their work, and because we want to know, right? And so oftentimes what happens is, after I'm done treating a patient that came in for a car accident, they'll stay as a wellness patient. They'll come in and get regular massages, or they'll come in and get their monthly adjustments, or they'll come in for functional medicine, and they'll attend my women's empowerment seminars if it's a woman, or they'll send their spouse if it's a man. And I think it's pretty powerful. And I think because we create that connection with the patient, that rapport. I've even been invited to weddings. I've been invited to baby showers, because we connect. We really do connect. And when you're seeing somebody 2 to 3 or maybe 4 times a week over 3 or 4 months, you establish a relationship. So we really care about our patients. And, the holidays are great because we get all kinds of gifts and all kinds of stuff, But I think that's also what makes us different, and why we don't fumble necessarily when it comes to either doing a deposition or, going to trial and sitting on the stand and advocating for this patient, is because we get to know them, and we know what their care has been like.
right. Well, and on that note, and I think it's the same thing with doctors as it is with lawyers. And people ask me, what should I look for? I get a lot of calls from people around the country because I'm so active on social media, and I tell them, listen, they tell me their story. I go, listen, you got to get a lawyer. You can't do this on your own. And they're like, okay, what do I look for in a lawyer? I go, the most important thing to look for in a lawyer, and I think it goes over with doctors too, is one you like and one you can communicate with. Because people are going to be telling you about their personal lives, their injuries, and they're going to be telling you stuff that they wouldn't tell, their next door neighbor or something. So I think it's very important that you like your doctor, just like you like your lawyer, and you can get along and you can communicate well. And I think that's what you do, at least from the people I send to you. That's what I see.
Yeah.
Tell us about your women's empowerment and your public speaking career. Let us know about that.
So I have figured out over the last 20 years, and like I said, I've been doing chiropractic for 21, and then I got into nutrition. So I'm certified in nutrition and functional medicine. And that's when we get to the root cause of issues. But I also found a big component that was missing from healthcare was the mindset, or the emotional aspect, what we call the psychosomatic component of healthcare. And I think oftentimes that is overlooked. And so I decided, okay, I need to add this piece into my practice so that I could better serve my patients. So I sought out to get certified in life coaching. So I had the pleasure of getting certified by Mr. Jack Canfield. You may know him as a Chicken Soup for the Soul guy. And I became a transformational life coach. So I am certified. And I love empowering people. And sometimes I have a patient that comes in, let's say with chronic back pain, and we end up having a conversation and we get to the root cause of that pain. And sometimes it is psychosomatic, sometimes it is physical, sometimes it is environmental toxins, but I want to get to that root cause. So what I developed was, aside from my chiropractic practice and functional medicine practice, I have another company called Manifest Your Epic Life. And that is transformational life coaching. So the days that I'm not in the office, or the afternoons that I'm not in the office, I am working with transformational life coaching clients. And that could be a high-end executive that needs to take their business to another level. It could be a woman who is transitioning into a new career, or going through a divorce, or it could be just about any situation where you want to take your life to another level. So twice a year, I hold these seminars, and they're usually about a day or a day and a half long. And it's all about peeling the layers of stuff that has accumulated over time and has basically dimmed your light, and you don't see your worth, and you don't understand how you're going to get to the next step, if that's where you want to go or where you want to go. So if you don't know where you want to go or how to get there, if you do know where you want to go, then that's a perfect opportunity to kind of like peel the layers and take the blinders off and take the different lenses off over time that we create, and really just kind of start a new journey, start a new trend. And that could go for health. So I also see people who've been chronically sick, and they're like, I need some change in my life. And so I take him through 7 different phases throughout the coaching program. And at the end of that, it's just a beautiful transformation. It's just kind of like seeing a butterfly just kind of evolve. So I do those transformational sessions twice a year. So for anybody who wants to come visit, we had to obviously postpone our March one because of the whole virus situation, the whole coronavirus, but hopefully we'll get back on track later this year. And I think people are going to need it. They're going to need the mindset work. And so I always look forward to working with those kind of clients that really just want change. They want change, but they don't know how to get there.
There you go. Dr. Goodrich doing good in people's lives, and that's outstanding. Anything else for our viewers? Any words of advice? What would you tell somebody if they were sitting at home and they were in an accident maybe last week, or they need a change in their life or something like that, and they're sitting at home, they just don't know what to do? What's the first step?
I think that there's so much information out there that I find people are suffering from analysis paralysis, right? So there's so much information coming their way, and I think you need to pick and choose who you listen to. And I think for anybody sitting at home who is trying to figure out, what do I do after an accident? Listen, you need to call the experts. You need to call Patrick, or you need to call myself, or we work as a team. So either one, we're going to work together. And get the information that you need. Stop listening to your neighbor or your friend, because they may know, but they may not know. So you need to listen to the experts. And then on the mindset side of it, if you're sitting at home and you have a job, then that's great, because you still need to work on that. I find that people are just kind of like sitting around waiting to see what happens and how life is going to transform. Life is happening now. So you need to adopt to the new norms, and stop listening to the news, turn that stuff off. I think you need to stick to a routine, and reach out. Look, if you go on Facebook or Instagram and you go to Manifest Your Epic Life, you're going to find a lot of great content on there, and just free information to help you kind of think on a different level. So that's what it's all about. Reach out to the experts, and then shut the negative stuff out of your mind, out of your energy field. You just need to shut it down. And I want to say that next Thursday I will be on a webinar, and it's called Thriving in Times of Change, and how to develop a mindset of resilience. And so if you want to register for it, I think you can go on Manifest Your Epic Life. I think there's a link there, but also Rainmakers Miami, I believe, is the link, and they can register for that. And I'm not the only one speaking. I'm speaking next Thursday, but I think you were on there, Patrick, right? Yesterday?
I was on there yesterday watching one they did on Financial Coast, how to navigate powerfully through the economic uncertainty. And for my followers and listeners, I will post a link down in the description to the webinar that the doctor is doing on Thursday, April 23rd at 1:00 p.m.
That would be fantastic. Yeah.
I'll post that in there. Good advice, doctor. It's always great to talk to you. Tell
Thank you,
people
Patrick.
where your office is. I know you're in Kendall, but give me your address, your phone number, and your website.
Sure. Our address is 7990 Southwest 117th Avenue, Suite 205. And obviously that's in Miami, 33183. And our phone number is 305-271-7447. And if you want to go to our website and check out all the different services, it's www.South Florida Chiropractic Center. I know it's long, South Florida Chiropractic Center.com.
And folks, that's in Kendall, Florida, and it's 79th Street and 117th Avenue, so it's right near Town and Country Mall.
That's right.
So there's your geographical location, your Town and Country Mall, right off the Turnpike in Kendall. Easy to get to from pretty much anywhere in Dade or Broward, because the Turnpike is there. South Dade, Homestead's not too far. South Broward's not too far. So if you have an injury, you need to change your life, you have a car accident or something like that, talk to Dr. Goodrich. Call me and then talk to Dr. Goodrich. Doctor,
Awesome.
Thank you very much for appearing on Law on the Life podcast. We enjoyed having you. Hope to have you back again. Thank you.
Sounds good. Thank you so much. Have a blessed day.
You too.